Oh, banana! Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and today we have some mega Nintendo Switch 2 and Donkey Kong news to get into. So in regards to Donkey Kong, don't worry, we won't be getting into any spoilers in regards to Bananza today. That's not going to happen. However, there have been more interviews that have come out about Donkey Kong Bananza that I think are very interesting, so we'll be getting into that. But also, it looks like there are Donkey Kong Bananza copies out there, so we'll be discussing this issue as well. But perhaps most importantly, maybe the biggest news of today, this just happened before I started this recording here, at least everyone noticed it, and that's that there's a movie happening, a big new Nintendo movie it looks like, so we'll be getting into that. But even beyond that, there's more things to discuss surrounding Nintendo Switch 2, such as an update on this Nintendo Direct situation, a couple updates actually, and it looks like another Nintendo game is getting pretty close to being announced, and there's a small possibility it could mean the return for a long-forgotten Nintendo IP, so we'll be getting to all of that today. But before going forward, let me point out I have this goal to reach 60,000 subscribers, so if you find yourself enjoying my content, your subscription would be appreciated. So diving into what may be the biggest news of the day. Universal Pictures has officially filed a US copyright for Untitled Donkey Kong Project Motion Picture. I'm not sure how else you spin it, but to me this seems like they're definitely making a Donkey Kong movie. I suppose it's possible that Universal Pictures might be involved in making more of a shorter Donkey Kong series here, but really a movie makes so much sense and there's some poetic justice going on here as well. So we already know that Nintendo hired Seth Rogen to play Donkey Kong in the first Super Mario movie, and Donkey Kong played a vital role there. We know we're getting a Mario movie sequel to come out very soon. It's coming out early next year, and I assume we'll start to get some promotion on that once we enter the Mario 40th anniversary celebrations, which would start in September, although Nintendo hasn't made any official announcements yet. It's possible they might announce their intent to do things for the anniversary even sooner. We'll see. But with Donkey Kong playing such a vital role in these movies, and we know Nintendo has had an intent to make more movies, and they've also had Donkey Kong play a vital role in the Universal Park, because they literally just opened the first major expansion to Super Nintendo World, that being for Donkey Kong. Clearly Nintendo has huge plans here, and of course, Donkey Kong Bananza is about to come out, and it's been made by at least part of the Mario Odyssey team, Nintendo EPD Group 8, EPD Tokyo. This is a major project, it's looking like maybe a masterpiece, we shall see. Point is, Nintendo is going very hard on Donkey Kong right now, and it now looks like they're getting a movie in line as well. So Nintendo is pushing Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong is coming to prominence here, and we might have an epic Donkey Kong movie to talk about fairly soon. And given what we've seen from Bananza, how DK has been characterized, how we've also seen Pauline as well, the Donkey Kong universe is being expanded, but we've also seen with Bananza, they've shown care in bringing back a whole bunch of other characters and details from prior Donkey Kong games. I feel very confident that Nintendo has the proper vision for Donkey Kong, and whatever they do with this movie, I think is going to be an absolute delight for fans. And hopefully it also helps to bring in a large new audience to Donkey Kong so everyone can see just how great DK truly is. But going back to my comment on there being some poetic justice here, what's interesting about this, about Universal filing for a copyright to make a Donkey Kong movie, is that if we go back to once upon a time when Nintendo entered the West with Donkey Kong from 1981, those arcade cabinets, there was a legal battle between Nintendo and Universal because, well, Nintendo took a lot of inspiration with Donkey Kong from King Kong, so there was an ongoing legal battle that happened there, Nintendo versus Universal. And now we see that they are working together specifically on a Donkey Kong movie, so that's pretty cool. But this is just the tip of the iceberg here. We still have much more to get into. For example, there are a few more interviews with the developers of Donkey Kong Bananza, including this one from La Vanguardia. And I'm not going to read the entire interview, but there are a few different things here that I think are worthy of note. So here it was asked, has Shigeru Miyamoto been involved in any way in the development of the game? Motokura: yes, we let him play it and consulted with him on various topics. For example, we asked him about his original idea for the character. In the first Donkey Kong arcade game, Miyamoto imagined a world where Donkey Kong and humans coexist. So, in addition to the wilder jungle imagery, we also incorporated the urban aesthetic and vision with which Miyamoto created the character. And so when thinking about it, yeah, we see DK's new design. Clearly it's reminiscent of his original design from the 1991 arcade game. But also we see characters like Pauline, which is a new version of the damsel from the original DK. But then we also have the inclusion of all these jungle areas, we have Rambi, we have Cranky Kong. Clearly, there's been a lot pulled from the entire Donkey Kong universe here, and Shigeru Miyamoto, the father of Donkey Kong's influence, is evident throughout Bananza. How is Donkey Kong Bananza different from Super Mario Odyssey? Motokura. It's different in many ways, but the core game design is very similar in that you can interact with a lot of things. In Super Mario Odyssey, the cap was used to interact with objects, whereas here, using voxel technology, Donkey Kong can interact with the entire game environment directly by punching with his fists. The essence is the same, but the big difference is that Donkey Kong Bananza uses voxel technology, which the game uses in keeping with the theme of destruction. Takahashi. Just like in Super Mario Odyssey, we wanted each level to be fun in its own right, but above all, we focused on the element of destruction and the continuity it creates. For example, destroying something that can trigger a chain of reactions, revealing secret rooms or hidden items. Unlike in Mario Odyssey where you could jump over a wall, in Donkey Kong Bananza you can destroy it, dig through the ground to create shortcuts, or even transform and destroy the entire wall. In that sense, the game offers multiple ways to progress, and we think this approach to destruction adds a unique touch. So I think some people might look at Donkey Kong Bananza and think it's just mindless mayhem and destruction, and while there's certainly an element to that, because it is fun to just destroy a whole bunch of things how you please, there is also thought to it as well. When I played the demo, I did notice some challenges. There are limitations at times, and there are puzzles built around the destruction. And Takahashi references a little bit of that here. And so I think it's fair to say that like Mario Odyssey, Donkey Kong Bananza does have some nuance with its gameplay as well, and I'm very eager to dive even further into it in just a few short days. A couple more things I'll point out from this interview here. Donkey Kong fans have been wondering for weeks who exactly this Donkey Kong is. Is he the same one we know from Donkey Kong Country? Motokura. As for the story, the team has one in mind, but that said, we'd like to refrain from answering that question because we'd like, to a certain extent, to leave it to the players' imaginations. I'd rather not give a definitive answer for now. This to me reminds me somewhat of what Eiji Aonuma and Fujibayashi have said about the story in Tears of the Kingdom, how they want to leave some things to the player's imagination, although they do also say that they do have a story in mind here, so it might be a little bit of a middle ground. I'm going to assume that when we play through Bananza, we are not going to get every single answer blatantly after experiencing the entire game. Some things are going to be left up to the player's imagination or interpretations, but I also think we are going to get some details and have a better understanding of what's going on here, and I'm sure there are going to be different people, myself included, putting together some sort of theory video on what's going on in Donkey Kong Bananza in terms of DK's age, Pauline, Cranky Kong, and more. But on to the most contentious part of this interview. While the game runs smoothly overall, I have noticed some frame drops at certain times and levels while playing the final version. Are you aware of this? Takahashi. There are several factors to consider. First, we intentionally used effects like hit stop and slow motion to emphasize impacts. Second, because we use voxel technology, there are times when there are major changes and destruction in the environment. We are aware that performance may drop slightly at these times. However, as you say, overall the game is smooth, and at points where large-scale changes occur, we prioritized fun and playability. And so when they say they prioritize fun and playability, what I take from that is that they didn't compromise on features in the game just because they couldn't keep 60 frames per second rock solid the entire time. Now, they describe these as drops slightly at times, so what is slightly? If slightly is just a frame or two here and there when there's a lot going on, I think most people will find that very forgivable, and perhaps a lot of people won't even find that too noticeable, depends on the person. But then they also talk about how they're using effects like hit stop and slow motion, which I think are really cool. Like, there are times when you may hit something and there's a brief slowdown, though intentional. It adds more of a dramatic feel to the overall experience, which I've seen in different games, which I really liked. I remember in the Wind Waker when you would slash at things and there was a brief moment where things would slow down and it felt very satisfying. So I don't think these slowdowns are going to be too much of an issue, but I'm sure it is going to be a part of the conversation, especially when it has to do with the graphics and performance analysis of this game. But we got another interesting quote that's come out from the Rolling Stone. So as here Stealth shares from Kenta Motokura, one thing I want to make sure we definitely included was Cranky Kong. Maybe it's just because I'm a fan, personally, but I wanted to make sure he was included. And so when I see comments like this, I'm just filled with more confidence that the Bananza team loves the entire Donkey Kong series, and they know exactly what they're doing with this game, so fans have a lot to look forward to here. Moving past interviews though, I thought this was worth noting. There are different Bananza advertisements coming out, sure, like this one from Famitsu, which just looks awesome, or even seeing posters like this out in the wild, so yeah, Bananza is being heavily promoted here, great to see. Something that is concerning though is that apparently someone already has Donkey Kong Bananza. I've been seeing different things pop up about people already having the game, it's out there, so leaks may be possible. Be aware, I will not be covering leaks of this nature, but you may want to be cautious because sooner or later some Bananza leaks may be coming out. On the note of leaks though, let's talk about this rumored Nintendo Direct situation, because we have some updates from a few different people who have said that there's going to be a July Nintendo Direct. One of those is Nash Weedle, who we've talked about lately. Has been getting a lot of right about Nintendo Switch 2, but something that people have been giving Nash Weedle a lot of flack for is that he suggested that a Nintendo Direct could happen last week, and it didn't happen. However, those that weren't really paying attention, before it was clear whether the Direct would happen last week or not, he did put out that he had conflicting information on the matter. He said he had some sources suggesting this week, and others suggesting it would be in the last week of the month, and unfortunately, looks like, well, nothing happened last week, right? So we'll see what actually goes down here, but the point is that Nash Weedle was not all in on a Direct happening last week, just that he had conflicting information. However, another thing that's been going around is that some people have greatly misinterpreted what Wood from Beat 'em Ups said during his Nintendo podcast. Here you see Croco Clock was saying, rumor, Nintendo Direct is coming next week according to Beat 'em Ups. But as you see here, it was already community noted. Wood made no such claim, he has denied this, as you see here. I did not say this, I don't know nothing about no Direct this week. Continuing, I do my podcasts live, and the chat this week wouldn't stop asking about when the July Direct was. I literally said I don't know, repeatedly in response. Right before I ended the show, I joked, see you next week and we can talk about the Direct. Sorry for the confusion. I know nothing, but personally I wouldn't think they would do a Direct before Donkey Kong releases. And so, Beat 'em Ups here did not say he had heard a Nintendo Direct would be happening in this upcoming week. He was joking, and if you actually paid attention to the live stream, throughout the entire show he made it clear that he did not know about a Direct happening this week. Now, he doesn't know when a Direct will be happening, so it's possible it will happen this week, but given that Donkey Kong Bananza is coming out, we are going to be getting reviews, it seems unlikely that a Direct would be happening this week, although we have seen other strange things happen by Nintendo, so you never really know. Now, some other interesting things that are going on here. It has been spotted that there is a Kirby Air Riders display. Some people are wondering if this means that Kirby Air Riders promotion is going to kick up soon, perhaps because we will actually get a gameplay reveal trailer in an upcoming July Nintendo Direct. Fingers crossed, we shall see. The game is slated for this year, so regardless of whether it's a Direct or not, there should probably be a trailer on this game relatively soon. Something else that appears to be happening relatively soon, emphasis on relatively because we're not quite sure when this would be announced, but it looks like Camelot Software Planning is almost done with a game. As you see here, they've been researching certain technologies, and apparently this indicates regional localization, which would suggest that they are pretty close to finishing what they have been working on. As this person here, Dan Lit on Reddit points out, another fun fact, Camelot Software Planning released 6 sports titles in between Golden Sun The Lost Age, and they released another 6 sports titles after Golden Sun Dark Dawn. If they follow that same release cadence, my friends, we're in for another Golden Sun on Switch 2, which is interesting. I don't think that's an actual pattern we should be paying attention to, but yes, it looks like Camelot Software Planning may be getting close to putting out a new game, which I hope it is a new Golden Sun, because I don't need another Mario tennis or golf game personally. There's a whole bunch of those, and Switch 2 is backwards compatible with Switch 1. They could just release like a patch or an enhancement of some kind, and that would be okay for those games. And we recently got a new Mario Strikers, so like there's plenty of Mario sports titles. Another Golden Sun though, that would be nice to see. Some people have talked about how the team at Camelot is very small, they wouldn't really be able to put together a great game, but then you look at something like Expedition 33, right? Like, yeah, small teams can still put together amazing looking, spectacular RPGs. And I'm not here trying to argue that whatever Camelot's working on needs to be a Golden Sun that's in 4K open world with hundreds of hours of gameplay. It could be something simpler, and it doesn't even need to be Golden Sun, but I would actually prefer them to not just only make Mario sports titles, although that's what they're known for. That's probably what we should expect them to be working on. But fingers crossed, it might be something else, and hopefully it means the return of Golden Sun. But what do y'all make of this latest news about the Nintendo Switch 2 and Donkey Kong? Are you excited for Donkey Kong Bananza? I sure am. Anyways everyone, this is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.